Hello and welcome to another episode of TEDxDupreeParkTV. I'm delighted that you could join us today. We have a fantastic show planned for you with some wonderful guests that you are going to learn a lot from. You're going to be inspired. You're going to be empowered to take action in your own life because of what you're going to learn here today. So please join. In fact, go ahead and like, comment, wherever you're watching us from, whether it's Facebook or it could be YouTube. You could be watching us on Twitter. Just let us know that you're out there. Give us a, hey, Gina, watching you from, I'm here in Orlando. So I would be saying, I'm watching you from Orlando. Just let us know where you're coming in from today. We'd really appreciate that because we love to know who's watching and know what you guys are doing today. All right. So today, to help me welcome our guest and get to know our guest is our co-organizer for TEDx Dupree Park. And that is Mike Sena. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, Gina. How are you today?
Oh, doing just wonderful. Life is good. Life is good. I know there's a lot of stuff, bad stuff going on in the world, a lot of trauma and tragedy. And I stopped listening to the news. I take a glance at the Wall Street Journal cover page every now and then. And I kind of, if things are happening, I might see a little bit in Facebook, but I really try to tune out and just focus on what I can control and the good things in my life. How about you?
I think that's the best attitude going forward. There's only so much we can control. And if you focus on your life and your situation first, things are going to go much smoother for you down the road. And I've encouraged a lot of folks to stop watching the news. There's really nothing good there.
I know. Go ahead.
There's a lot of good stuff coming up on TEDx Dupree Park TV.
A much better choice. Yes, you're going to be uplifted and inspired rather than, oh my God, so many bad things going on. Well, I hear you have a little story or a little something to share with us today. So let me just feature you and go ahead and let us know about that.
Well, thanks. I was reading a blog post earlier today, How to Live Life Without Regrets. And the first sentence was, you are in control of your own life. You're responsible for your own life. And we control our thoughts and our actions. And it caused me to reflect and think back a little bit that it's eminently true, and that everything we want in life is inside of us. And a lot of people have trouble making that emotional leap. I know some folks get it intellectually, but to actually make the emotional leap and trust what's inside of you to make the most of what you have and live your life, live in the present, it's a difficult conversation and a difficult leap for some folks. I've learned over my life that actions lead to feelings, not feelings leading to actions. And if you implement little everyday actions in your life, you'll get the feelings that you're looking for. And it will make a huge difference over time. And it's something that I practice every day. And there's lots of little tricks, so to speak, or techniques that you can use to somewhat eliminate what I call the weeds growing. We all have self-doubt. We all have negative thoughts that enter from time to time. And just switch those thoughts to something else. And it's a little bit of cognitive therapy, so to speak, that you can train yourself when the negative self-talk comes in and when the weeds start growing, you just think of something else. And it will change the way you think. And over time, it will become much more automatic. One of the things I love about TEDx Dupree Park, Seeding Greatness, what we're trying to accomplish and deliver to the world is positivity and the ability of human beings to adapt. And once again, the notion that we individually have a lot more control over our lives than I think many of us think. So that's my opening words. And it's made a big difference for me over my life. I hope it'll make a difference for you in your life. You are in control.
I love that. And the weeds in the head, that's a good way to look at it and a good way to think about it. And you want to pluck out those weeds, right? And keep the good stuff.
Yeah. One of my favorite phrases is the grass is greener where you water it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And so many times we look over the fence, we look into the next pasture, into the next yard, and it just looks so beautiful. But so many times we really don't understand how that person is watering their own yard. And if we water our own yard, our own grass, we'll have a beautiful lawn or a beautiful meadow or whatever you desire to create, you can.
I love it. That's a great philosophy. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing that. Very powerful.
Well,
Well,
it's what this has been all about, I think.
yes, and I know it's a big part of why we're all aligned in our efforts and our desires to seed greatness, and that's a big part of what our guests today are going to be talking about as well, how they're seeding greatness in the world. So, with that, let's bring on. We're gonna do something a little different today. We're going to interview a couple of our guests at the same time because they're working together. They're co-venturing on some projects, and so our first guest is Dr. Deborah Shapiro. And she's a board certified obstetrician gynecologist. She's a certified health coach and a vegan lifestyle coach and educator. She's been studying plant-based nutrition for 8 years, and she has her certificate in plant-based nutrition through eCornell and the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies. As a private whole food plant-based health coach, she enjoys helping her clients reverse chronic conditions and get them off their medications using diet and lifestyle changes. She and Dr. Shoemaker recently developed a program aimed at helping women prepare for pregnancy called the Pregnancy Advantage. Dr. Shapiro hopes this unique coaching program will help women create healthier families everywhere. So let me bring on Dr. Shapiro. Welcome aboard.
Hello. Hi, Mike. Hi, Gina. Such a
Hey.
pleasure.
Okay, let me bring on your colleague, our second guest today, as we get started here. So, Dr. Jean Schumacher, and she earned her doctorate in science and education and has taught for 35 years and is committed to inspiring people to change their health destiny through non-toxic whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. She's followed plant-based diets since 2009 and is founder of simplyplantbased.net to help promote the change, such as the weight loss advantage and coming soon, the plant-based advantage and the cardiology advantage. She has successfully earned her plant-based nutrition certificate through eCornell, the Center for Nutritional Studies, and has implemented the Women's Studies and Food Over Medicine programs. She shares her knowledge through a variety of programs and lectures. So let's bring on Dr. Schumacher as well. Hang on just a second. There we go. All right, we've got everybody on board right now. Oh, and your graphic is showing so nicely behind you there. That's your new venture, pregnancyadvantage.net.
That is. And thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, so good to have you guys. Well, let's start with Dr. Shapiro here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and share your plant-based journey?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gina. It really is an honor to speak to you today about the importance of optimizing our health, particularly before becoming pregnant, so that we can have, and before we become parents, that we can have healthier children born into the world. My personal transition to a whole plant food diet and a vegan lifestyle occurred gradually and organically. First, a patient told me about Farm Sanctuary, and I visited 2 of their sanctuaries, and I learned more about factory farms and the plight of animals raised for food. You know, being licked by a cow is really a life-changing event. If that's ever happened to you, it's quite remarkable. That same patient, and she had so much of an effect on me and my career path, but that same patient told me about Dr. Michael Greger's website, nutritionfacts.org, that helps interpret the mountains of nutritional science for the general public. As a physician, I've always been interested in ways to keep my patients healthy. And as soon as I was directed to the science of plant-based nutrition, I just wanted to learn more and more. And then the last piece came with that film Cowspiracy, which I saw at a local veg fest. And when I learned about the relationship between what we eat and our environment, the choice was never more clear. And I've never had any second thoughts about it. As a vegan, when I learned to cook without oil, that's when I lost 20 pounds. My cholesterol, blood pressure, and hemoglobin A1C dropped. I stopped needing daily Zyrtec for allergies, which I had been taking for decades. I stopped needing weekly chiropractic adjustments, which I had also been getting for decades. I could walk down the stairs in the morning without foot pain, and I could crouch down to cut my toenails without knee pain. I could jog. I could digest foods that I hadn't eaten for over 30 years, and I stopped having regular headaches. But even more importantly, which was amazing, was my mood was improved. I felt less anxious, less depressed, despite massive changes in my life and career. So everything that happened to me after going vegan and eating a whole plant food diet was incredibly positive.
I could totally relate. I used to take allergy pills all the time, and now it's very rare. It's only if there's, something bad going on or a place that I've visited. Usually it's if I'm on a trip and there's a lot of mold around or something like that. Yeah, I had to do that and I no longer do. And this thing about the joints, I had no idea how inflammatory animal foods were. I didn't know that at all. But I remember even when I was 40 years old, just getting up off a couch, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I must be 80 years old. And now I feel like I'm 20 again. So
Right. Right. I noticed that even from oils, if I have a day where I'm having more processed food and more oil, my hands will hurt the next morning. Do you notice that? I mean, I can get it happens right away. That I
I
have to
don't feel the
back off.
pain, but I notice my face is puffy. It's like there's a sodium in the processed foods. And
Yeah.
so I do notice that a lot. And my eyes get kind of closed looking.
Mhm.
But we are just so delighted that you're part of our TEDx Dupree Park family here today. You're now one of our sages. We call our sages our wise people that come on and share information with us. So tell me, what attracted you to being a guest on our TEDx Dupree Park TV show?
Well, I have to say, I'm really thrilled to have been invited. I've never been invited to be on any kind of a TEDx, and I've always really loved the concept of TED and TEDx talks. And I love your motto, great societies flourish when elders plant trees they know they'll never sit under. We have to think beyond our own front yards to tackle the enormous problems that we face. I think it's really critical to believe that things can improve and to allow yourself to have ideas that might make things better. Some people do this by working in politics, and some work in academia or research or law. And some people just do their own jobs as well as they can. Even if those jobs don't seem to be important, we're all contributing toward a shared future, and everything matters. And I really appreciate that one of your organizers, Steve Monahan, I know he's not here today, but he's committed to animal welfare. And so as an ethical vegan, that also resonated with me. And your message of promoting ideas that show how we're all interconnected on this blue dot we call home is something that I also really believe to be true.
So well said. Yes, Steve's taking a much deserved break today. And so Mike is our my co-host today. And so with that, let's bring back on Jean as well. I think that they're going to have a little bit of a conversation.
Yes, indeed, Dr. Shoemaker. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today. And I'm going to start off somewhat along the same line as Gina and Dr. Shapiro. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to your plant-based discovery.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today. It's such an honor and a privilege, truly. My story starts with a trip to the emergency room, and I had 105-degree fever. My blood pressure was off the charts. I should have had a heart attack or stroke, but I didn't. Thank goodness. But I was never so sick in my life. I had racking chills, and I couldn't get my body warm no matter how many blankets they put on top of me. And once my body did get warm, oh my gosh, like I drenched the bed with sweat, and my temperature would get dangerously high. And it went on like this for a week, and they never did find out what was causing the issues. And I honestly don't care. That trip for 1 week in the hospital with only blood work done and drugs was over $30,000. And what was pretty amazing to me, though, for this whole thing was the doctor who treated me was not only a medical doctor, but she was a nutritionist as well. And once I got to the hospital, I went to see her as a nutritionist. And she told me I had heart disease. I'm like, what? Really? And even though I was taking blood pressure medications, my thyroid was starting to go wonky, I still didn't relate the fact that I had heart disease, but I did. So she started me reading a book called Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Truly an amazing man. And the rest, as they say, is history. I haven't looked back. And since that time, I've lost over 100 pounds. I've reversed my fatty liver syndrome. I've gotten off my blood pressure medication, and I've healed my thyroid, which my doctor looked me straight in the eye and said, yeah, no, in my 25 plus years of being a medical doctor, I've never seen anybody heal their thyroid until now. So, and I was dealing with migraines, and I was just constantly dealing with sickness and illness all the time. Not anymore. And also along this path, my husband reversed multiple sclerosis.
Wow, such an amazing story. Yeah, I know when I first met you and learned that you had lost over 100 pounds and reversed all these chronic health conditions, I was just so shocked and so impressed and so inspired by your story. So And Dr. Shapiro's story is amazing as well. And in particular, Dr. Shapiro, you're a medical doctor, an OBGYN, and you're promoting a whole food plant-based diet and whole food plant-based lifestyle to your clients. What made you decide to begin this promotion to your clients?
Well, I'm a physician, and so really all I care about is helping people stay well. And as an OBGYN, I really dedicated my life to helping women have complication-free pregnancies and healthy children. For the longest time, I thought that optimizing prenatal care could do that. I mean, that's what I was taught, right, in medical school and residency. And I just had to follow my specialty's guidelines and all would be right. But I just kept seeing women get heavier and heavier and develop complications like high blood pressure and preeclampsia and diabetes and gestational diabetes, and had babies that were getting too large to be passed vaginally. And then there were more complications from failed inductions and cesarean sections and hemorrhages. And I thought about the effects that diet and lifestyle might have on fertility and pregnancy outcomes, because this was all happening at the same time that I was making my journey. So I started looking at the science that was already being done in this area. And then soon after, I teamed up with Jean, who's really quite amazing. And that was through a mutual plant-based connection. And we created the Pregnancy Advantage.
I love that. That is just, that's going to help so many people. Just a quick personal story there. A friend of mine had 2 babies. She gained 60 pounds each, and she had horrible morning sickness with each of them. And then the 3rd baby, she was whole food, plant-based vegan, no morning sickness, and she only gained 16 pounds. So 60 pounds versus 60 pounds. She couldn't believe it. And her baby was so healthy. It's just a great story.
It is. And wait till you hear, I think we'll be able to talk about it later, but some of the details within the Pregnancy Advantage really speak to that. And it's I think when people hear about this, I think it will change some hearts and minds, really.
Excellent. Well, Jean, let's see. So you stepped out of the classroom after 35 years of teaching. Have you seen changes in your students in terms of their ability to learn?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Since I began teaching, I have noticed significant changes in our kids and our students. There has been a huge increase in behavioral and learning issues. Now, I was born in 1960. Okay. Not quite back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth or anything, but if you do the math, that's 60 years ago. Okay. So in the town I grew up in Connecticut, most of the kids that were in my neighborhood and went to the schools were normal weight, and they had no learning issues. None, zero. But I didn't see the issues that we see today. I mean, you might have seen that, overweight kid or the slow kid. Those were the exceptions, not the rule. But let's think about something like autism, for example. Oh my gosh. My first encounter with autism wasn't until the 1990s. But now, according to the CDC's Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network, about 1 in 54 children have been identified. What? And that's just autism. There are so many other learning and behavioral issues out there. So my question is, why? Why in my lifetime has this changed so significantly? What is causing an increase in childhood learning and behavioral issues? So as a person of science, I kept looking for that reason, that one thing, like cause, something happens, and then effect. But I think the process, that is more along of lines of a very reductionist or limited thought process. And I needed to step back and kind of look at the bigger picture of this. And since World War II, so many chemicals have been introduced. And I kind of grew up with that mindset, that phrase, better living through modern chemistry. I mean, to some extent, okay, to be fair, that is true. But on the other hand, we have become walking chemical experiments. Literally, in 26 seconds, anything you put on your body will be in your bloodstream. The average woman is exposed to 168 toxic chemicals a day. Babies are now being born with over 200 industrial chemicals and pollutants in their umbilical cord. What? They're not even an hour old and they're already loaded with toxins. And there's so little regulation. It is like the wild, wild west, and pretty much anything goes. And I guess I was a little naive when I grew up because I thought if a product was on a shelf in a store, that someone along the way said, hey, this is safe for humans. No. In Europe, they use the precautionary principle, which basically says you have to prove it's not harmful before you can sell it. So are these chemicals in our food, our personal care products, and environment causing these issues? I think so. Between that and the standard American diet, that's sad for short, I think this is what's happening.
Wow. Wow, that's very powerful stuff. And I got to tell you, Jen and I have talked over the years that we've known each other about this vegan lifestyle, and I am slowly moving in that direction. And the talks from both of you and some of our other speakers are helping me develop a more healthy lifestyle. I've always believed that a lot of ourselves is what we put in ourselves, both mentally and nutritionally. Deborah, if I may, what's going on in your life that has you excited these days? Please tell us.
Absolutely. You know, it's never been more important to learn about plant-based nutrition now and putting it to work for you. We know more about some of the risk factors that put you at higher risk for severe COVID-19 infection. And these same chronic conditions, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, these are specifically helped and even reversed with a whole plant food diet. So it's never been a better time to take advantage of this. I just heard Kim Williams speak at a conference put on by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Dr. Kim Williams is the past president of the American College of Cardiology. And he confirmed, and I didn't really know this, but he confirmed that it's risk, not race, that makes Black and brown people more susceptible to severe COVID infection. If you control for risk factors, obesity, diabetes, and hypertension, their risk is no greater than any other race. The pandemic itself, just like every other pandemic, is a zoonotic disease arising in animals and spread by unsanitary conditions on factory farms and revolting live animal markets. And we know from scholarly articles like the Eat Lancet Commission report of 2019 that the only way that we're going to have enough resources, even enough food to feed all the humans on Earth, is with a predominantly plant-based diet. And specifically for women who are intending to start a family, I learned that maternal obesity, a high saturated fat diet, excessive maternal weight gain, Gina, just what you were talking about, and exposure to chronic stress and exposure to environmental toxins, such as the endocrine disrupting chemicals, all have a negative effect on the fetus and on the germ cells developing inside the fetus. So you're going to be affecting the health of your grandchild. So these factors are actually decreasing the IQ of our children, increasing the likelihood of autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and later diabetes and obesity and cancer, as well as many other conditions like thyroid disease and endometriosis and fibroids. If we want to create healthier children, we have to help women get healthier before they even try to conceive. Otherwise, honestly, I feel like we're living in a kind of Groundhog Day. Do you remember that film? And people are born already poisoned and damaged by the inflammation and oxidative stress of their uterine environment. And later in life, when they invariably fall ill, the medical establishment does its best to treat the conditions with drugs and surgeries without affecting the health of women before they conceive and keeping them safe through their pregnancies. This cycle will just repeat itself. So Jean and I really want to stop this from happening. And I really feel like I found a kindred spirit with Jean because of what she's been through and also her understanding of the science and the toxicology of it and the chemistry of it. But as she talked about, this, I feel like we've been participants in a kind of toxic food and environment experiment over the past 70 years, and we didn't even know it. There are over 1,000 of these endocrine disrupting chemicals that are damaging us and affecting our own endocrine system. And our high animal fat and animal protein diet with its excess sugar and processed grains and salt, they're also damaging us. The chronic stress we're experiencing is damaging us. But the amazing news is that with a healthy plant-based diet and other lifestyle changes, we can often reverse debilitating disease, actually change gene expression, and pass on healthier genes to our offspring. And we really have Dr. Dean Ornish to thank for this, as he was able to show that after just 3 months of a low-fat vegan diet with moderate exercise, 30 minutes walking 6 days a week, stress reduction, an hour of yoga or meditation every day, and a support group once a week in a group of men with early-stage prostate cancer, he showed that over 500 genes changed expression in just 3 months. 453 genes that promoted cancer were downregulated, and 48 genes that protect against cancer were upregulated. And he and Nobel Prize winning researcher Elizabeth Blackburn showed that telomeres, those are the caps at the ends of your chromosomes. They're like the little plastic caps at the end of your shoelaces, and they keep the chromosomes from unraveling, but they also shorten as you age. And actually, this diet and lifestyle changes will actually lengthen the telomeres. So you sort of reverse aging. So can you imagine what might happen if we supported women to make these same diet and lifestyle changes before they conceived? That's what the Pregnancy Advantage is really about.
That is so exciting. And to your point, this information has been out there for quite some time. And that's been one of the most amazing things that's happened to me in the last 5 years is I would have adopted this diet decades ago if I had thought it was healthy. But I was drinking the Kool-Aid, literally, the unhealthy Kool-Aid. And I thought that a plant-based diet was unhealthy, that I would shrivel up and die and lose all these nutrients. And I've just been amazed to learn.
Where's you going to get your protein?
I know. I've just been amazed to learn that this is so not true. And I'm so grateful that you guys are out there spreading this word about the differences. And so, Jean, I'd like to ask the same question to you. What has you excited these days?
Well, I just stepped out of the classroom after 35 years. And so, but I still have a lot to do. I mean, I have a lot to educate. And so I'm taking all the skills that I have learned as a teacher to be an effective educator, and I'm putting them to work in programs to help others to change their health destiny through a variety of different learning programs. So I'm so excited to be working with Deborah. She's so knowledgeable. I mean, she's incredible. I'm learning so much from her, as we put together this program. It's just incredible. And we want to help women to get their bodies pregnant ready. Or if they're having trouble conceiving, we can help, especially, before they go down the in vitro fertilization rabbit hole. First of all, it's so expensive, number one. Most of the time, it's not covered by insurance. And you're talking like $20,000, $30,000 a pop. And you don't know if it's going to work. And by the way, it's not really pleasant what you go through. So, that's one program that I'm doing. But I connected with Dr. Ajay Shah, who you had on last week. And we're currently working on the plant-based advantage and the cardiology advantage because he's a cardiologist. And we're both connected with Dr. Maria Jose de la Fuente. She is from Bolivia. And we're working on doing both the plant-based advantage and then the cardiology advantage eventually in Spanish. So I'm so excited because I think the Hispanics have been an underserved population in this whole thing. Because that's one of the things. I lived overseas for about 13 years. I worked in private American schools, and I got to connect with people there. And now I'm seeing people here in the United States, because it's almost like there's pockets of like Ecuador that came and moved to like Peekskill, New York. I mean, Ossining, New York is like another place for Guatemala and El Salvador. It's just incredible how one person lands and then the whole town like comes. And as soon as they land here in the United States and they start eating the SAD diet, immediately they become morbidly obese and then diabetes. They just follow, one follows the other. So I really would like to try and help this population as well, because I don't think there's a lot out there for Hispanics. So I'm so excited to be doing this. And I'm also doing programs like corporate wellness, because if you can start getting your employees healthy, you're going to get a lot more out of them and build an amazing community as well. So I think all of us just want to help people to change their health destiny through a plant-based, toxic-free, as toxic-free as we can get on this planet at this point, but a toxic-free lifestyle. So
Well, you
Good
guys both
stuff.
have so much to teach us and to teach the world. And I'm so grateful that you guys are using video. I know, Jean, I've been following your videos for a while. Your Mexican vegan lasagna one is one of my absolute favorites. I watch that. I use it all the time, so I don't watch it all that much anymore because I have it written down. But you guys, if you want a crowd pleasing, family pleasing for all ages. Let's get very practical here. Just if you type in Mexican vegan lasagna, you are probably going to find her video for that. And maybe after you get off, Jean, if you could share that link in our chat, that would be great. Not our chat, but in our comments below the video. It's a real winner. I make it for all the parties that I have. Everybody says, "Where's that vegan lasagna?" They want some of it.
I know
I
that's
can
been my
attest to that.
husband's.
I'm sorry,
That's
I
been
can
my
attest to
husband's.
that. Years ago, my mother-in-law made a vegetarian lasagna. I had no idea until it was all done, and it was delicious. It was fabulous. This was probably 15 years ago, and it made a huge impact in me. Anyway, I bet it's good stuff.
Well, thanks again for introducing us to Dr. Ajay Shah. He was fantastic. He was on last week, and that was terrific. So thank you for that introduction. And before we let you go, tell us, how can we get in touch with each of you? What's the best way? Dr. Shapiro, go first.
Yes, of course. So I am a whole plant food health coach, and my website is www.anewviewoffood.com. And if anyone wants to see if private health coaching would be of benefit to them, please reach out through that site. And you can download a free ebook. I called it Why Eat Plants through my website. And I really love to help people get comfortable eating a nutritionally optimized plant-based diet. It's not going to help anybody if people go, quote, vegan and are just eating vegan junk food and are not healthy. And that is not going to help our cause at all. So it's very important, if you're an ethically vegan person living an ethically vegan lifestyle, you have to make your diet be a step up. And I can help you to do that, because it's not hard, but there are some things that you have to do. So also, if you're thinking of starting a family in 2021, I know it's not a good time to be pregnant now with the pandemic and no vaccine and no real treatment. But if you're thinking of getting prepared for pregnancy, you want to get pregnant in 2021 or 2022, this is the perfect time to increase your fertility and improve the health of your child by preparing for your pregnancy. And that's the Pregnancy Advantage program. So www.pregnancyadvantage.net. And we also have a free giveaway. And that's the top 3 things that we think you need to do to get your body pregnant ready. And that's at www.pregnantready.net. And you can also access that through the pregnancyadvantage.net website as well.
Excellent. Very good. Well, same thing, Dr. Schumacher, how should we get in touch with you?
Well, thank you. I am founder of simplyplantbased.net, and then you can find all the programs there, such as the Weight Loss Advantage, Corporate Wellness, and lots of things, and resources. Oh my gosh, videos and recipes, all kinds of things. I'm on Facebook. We have Plant-Based Westchester and Plant-Based Cape Cod. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. J. Schumacher. But we also have Facebook pages for Simply Plant-Based and, of course, the Pregnancy Advantage. So.
Terrific. Well, that program is very
Excellent.
exciting. I see that our mutual friend, Nancy Norby Matthews, has shared the YouTube link, which would probably be a little hard for people to copy down right here, just watching on the show. But if you go to TEDxDupreePark on Facebook, you would see the main Facebook page, and you could see that link right there. So fantastic. I really appreciate you guys. Mike, closing comments?
Lots of good stuff, as always. We appreciate what you're doing. And I've made a lot of strides in my own personal diet and lifestyle over the years. I've loved meat, but I have learned that depending on how you cook it, it makes a huge difference. And there's a good friend of mine that had a vegan feed truck and catering business that went completely in the tubes when COVID hit. And she's now cooking and delivering every Friday delightful vegan fare. And I look forward to it. I get it every other week. It's so delicious. And I got to tell you, looking at it, probably not so much, but the taste is outstanding. It's made a huge impact in my diet, and it's added a lot of variety.
That's great. Mike, did you have a question about rice?
I do. And getting back to this, I got to give a shout out to Jessamine Starr and Good Food Truck in Atlanta. She's absolutely phenomenal in what she does. Each week that I get her product, she includes white rice. Now, I've been told over the years that brown rice is better than white rice, but I really don't know. Could one of you comment on that? I'd like to know the real skinny.
Sure. So if you looked at a diagram of a grain, and this really takes me back because I remember in early biology class in college, we had a diagram of a grain. It might have been corn or it might have been rice, but it's the same. And there are three components. There's the bran and the germ. So the bran is the fiber, the germ is the protein, and then there's the endosperm, which is more of the starch.
Okay.
And when we talk about processing or refining a grain, they're removed. Usually when you talk about just refining, you're taking something away. And sometimes when you're processing something, you're also adding things back. But when you refine a grain, it usually means that you're taking out the germ and the bran and you're leaving the endosperm. But the interesting thing is, the endosperm, it's fine to have starch. I mean, that's fine. It's our fuel, right? We're starchivores. It's our major fuel source. But you're losing important phytonutrients and antioxidants and fiber, which are really the fuel for your microbiota. The bacteria in your gut need to eat the fiber that you eat. And there's no fiber in animal products. So the only way you can get fiber is through plants. And it's really it's the fiber that feeds the microbiota, and that they create something called short chain fatty acids. And that's what really keeps you all healthy. That's what keeps your metabolism going and keeps your weight stable and keeps your blood sugar stable. And so you really want more fiber. And so anytime that you can eat food in its whole, unrefined, unprocessed form, it's going to contain more fiber.
Okay.
And more, and in this case, also more protein, because the germ has the protein also.
Well, I have to say, I prefer brown rice. I like the way it tastes better. It takes longer to cook, but I enjoy it more. So anyway, thanks for that. Inquiring minds want to know.
Of course.
Okay, fantastic. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you on another episode down the road one day, and to continue to stay in support of your program, the pregnancyadvantage.net. So thank you so much, Dr. Shapiro and Dr. Schumacher.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. So wonderful to share this information. Yeah. That was a great question. That's a very practical question. What's more healthy? Yeah, both are vegan, but what's more healthy? The whole food, the closer you can go to the whole product. Yeah. So what they said, just exactly what they said. All right. Well, go ahead.
It is good stuff. And there's so much that we can do about improving our own lives. And one of the things you and I have talked a little bit about offline is throughout this COVID thing, there's so little information on ways that we can boost our immune system. There's so many ways that we can improve our odds of success if we catch COVID. And I think this is what Seeding Greatness is all about, is moving continually in the right direction forward with more sustainable and healthier choices for us individually.
Well, that's a very, very good point. And to continue to stimulate our minds with positive thoughts and to keep ourselves vibrating at a high level, we sometimes need coaches in our lives, right? That's a big help. I hire a lot of coaches to help me with different skills that I want to learn. And so in our TEDx system and our TEDx Dupree Park family, each of our speakers is paired with a volunteer coach that spends a lot of time working with the speakers to help them get ready, because it's pretty intense pressure to be up there on the TEDx stage and have this limited amount of time to get your message out with big impact. And so we're so grateful for our coaches. And one of those who's going to be joining us today, let me just tell you a little bit about her today. It's Natanya Walker. And she's a speaker, trainer, and transformational expert. She has a way of infusing her infectious energy to help guide people toward their desired state of doing, being, and having. Natanya has a knack for inspiring self-leadership wherever she sets up shop. One of her mantras is to leave everything she touches different and better. I can definitely relate to that. Yeah. Over the years, Natanya has helped to develop and support leaders at companies such as KPMG, the Centers for Disease Control, State Farm, Toastmasters International, and the International Hotel Group. She served as a speaker coach at TEDx Morehouse and now TEDx Dupree Park. In 2017-2018, Natanya served as a district director for Toastmasters International District, which covers half of the state of Georgia. That's a big place, and that's over 4,000 members. Currently, Natanya operates as the founder and chief executive officer of the WAR Group, the WOR, where she stirs up and inspires her clients to level up what they think, what they say, and what they do. So with that, Natanya Walker, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for being one of our TEDx coaches.
Yes, thank you, Gina. And hello, Mike. Good to see you both.
It's always a pleasure, Natanya.
Yes.
Well, Natanya, your work has inspired us so much. We certainly see that you're seeding greatness. Please tell us a little bit about what you're doing to seed greatness today.
Well, what I'm doing now, Gina, is really taking a lot of time to help other individuals to see within themselves, but also taking a look inside my own self. I mean, back in 2019, I had worked for well over 30 years as a chief of staff. That's what I do full time, and the coaching and speaking part-time. And I decided to take a sabbatical year, just to really refresh and go into this next season of life at a different pace. And then COVID hit. You know, COVID just changed everything, not just for me, but everyone. So I have had the privilege now to go back and continue my sabbatical. It's given me opportunity to really look inside myself, to coach other individuals. You mentioned TEDxDupreePark, as well as TEDx Morehouse. So I've had the privilege of coaching individuals who want to level up their game in the communication area, but also in life, where they see themselves and are able to manifest exactly what they want for themselves.
Oh, that's very inspiring. How did you get into coaching with TEDx Morehouse?
Well, it's pretty cool, and I owe a lot of this to Mike. Thank you, Mike. As district director for Toastmasters, there was a lot of speaking involved, as with most leadership roles, but it's different. I've spent most of my career as a speaker, a motivational, inspirational speaker. But in that role, I spent a lot of time marketing and sales and town hall meetings. So it was a different light. Mm-hmm. When my term ended, I wanted to get back and become more of a motivational speaker and up my game. I reached out to a colleague of mine, and what she said was absolutely true. She reminded me that the best way to learn is to teach. And she mentioned becoming a TEDx coach, and matched me with Mike, and the rest is history. So yeah, that's the way that came about.
Well, you and I have known each other somewhat peripherally for 4 or 5 years, and I will say your tenure as director of D44 Toastmasters in Georgia, so many people you touched in such an incredibly positive way. Like right now, I never saw you without a smile, without a straight posture, and you brought a light into the room every time you came in to speak, whether it was on video or in person. It was always such a privilege. I didn't know you were involved in TEDx Morehouse. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, like TEDx Dupree, COVID hit. And before we were able to go on stage and continue the process, I mean, the world changed. So nice experience that was there at TEDx Morehouse's first run out. They were super excited, as was I about the opportunity, and wonderful, wonderful speaker there that I was working with, same here. And I'm sure it'll all come back shortly.
Well, we certainly hope so. Now, you're coaching one of our local speakers, Joshua Ludlam.
Yes.
Tell us how that's been working out between the two of you, that chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry has been great. Joshua and I had the opportunity of meeting. We decided we'd get to know one another first. I mean, let's face it, with any relationship, it's all about understanding the other. And I got to learn a lot about Joshua, to understand the story behind the story.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time, as do most TEDx coaches, is really breaking down exactly what that message is, so that Joshua could get on stage and be very succinct, very impactful, and very inspiring with his message. So really, really great experience. Our relationship has grown, and we were able to work together, and look forward to continuing that in the months to come.
Well, we sure appreciate your involvement with TEDx Dupree Park. I know Joshua admires you and respects you, and I was very pleased to be instrumental in making that introduction. One of the things I'm curious about, WAR Group, WOR, I know it stands for something.
Yeah, it stands for working on results.
Cool.
I mean, let's face it, that's what we have to do each day. And that's when you have a dream, when you have a goal, when there's something that you visualize. I think you said it earlier, you know, it doesn't just happen. You really have to work on the results. As a matter of fact, if you look at war backwards, it's row. You know, it's ROW. So we must row in the direction of that which we want to come to pass. So yes, war, go to work.
Wow, what a great metaphor. I guess one maybe final question I have for you, what do you see for yourself as COVID eases down, we get back to somewhat of a normal life? And I'll tell you, to me, life is never normal. There's always something. There's always some way that humans adapt and continue on. But what do you see for yourself next year helping others?
Yeah, I love the quote. I've never heard it before, so I hope you don't mind if I borrow it. The grass, how did you put it? The grass is greener because it's watered?
The grass is greener where you water it.
Where you water it. I'm going to have to borrow that one. That's what I want to help people realize, is that the grass is greener when you water it. What are you working on? One of the things that I enjoy doing for myself and for other people is to serve as a mirror. Is teaching people how to step outside of themselves, to observe their thoughts, their actions, their behavior, and their desires. Because once we began to see ourselves more clearly, we can solve a lot of our issues, those things that get in our way, you know, the brown spots in the grass. We're able to see it a little bit better and realize what needs to be tended to. So over the next, the coming months and year, it is my hope to work with individuals very closely to help them see themselves, to reach their dreams, and to become and realize that which they desire. As a matter of fact, if I may, Mike, I am super excited, and nobody has heard this yet, like first time, TEDx Dupree Park. During the month of September, I am giving away 40 hours of free coaching. So that's 1 hour per person. So 40 individuals get 1 free hour. So super excited about that.
That's awesome news. Thanks for sharing that with us. Before we let you go, what's the best way for us to get in touch with you? How do we find you, and how do we sign up for this terrific offer?
You know, no sense in going through a website or anything else. The best way to reach me is just go straight to my email, and that's Netanya@thewargroup.com. And I'll spell my name. It's Netania and the WOR group.com. So Netanya@thewargroup.com.
Well,
That sounds
fantastic.
awesome.
What a great opportunity to really have an impact on so many lives. That's just terrific. I do see that one of our TEDx speakers, Lynn Sherwood Humphreys, is talking about that she really appreciates your passion and energy, Netanya. And I feel that same way, Mike. You're saying just her being here, she just lights up. She lights up the virtual room.
Yes, she does. She's got an amazing light that comes from within, and that kind of goes back to how we started. I believe everything good is inside of us, and people that can understand that and accept it emotionally. And Netanya is one of my shining examples.
Thank you, Mike. You know what? At the end of the day, I like to use the metaphor garage. You know, the garage is clean when you purchase your house, and you start storing little things in the garage. You know, you put old bulbs and golf clubs and a few things. And then after a while, babies come and life changes, and the garage starts to fill up. And when you need that light bulb, oftentimes you don't realize you already have one, and you go back out and buy another. Or you keep storing them up, and before long you can't get to the good things that you need because there's so much junk in it. You know, you've seen those garages I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
And the only way to get to that clean garage and get to what you need is to pull everything out, to examine it, to get rid of that which you don't need anymore, just toss it, and to reorganize the things that you need. And you find that you have a much more pleasant experience, a much more organized place to reside when you clean your garage. And that's no different for our insides. Sometimes it just gets full of happy things and things that aren't so happy and pleasant. But when we need what we need, we can't find it because it's all stuck in the garage. So what I want to do is help people to clean their garage.
I love it.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Well, on that note, Natanya, thank you again so much for being part of our TEDx Dupree Park family. Thank you so much for coaching Joshua. And we look forward to just continuing to get to know you better and to helping you spread greatness around the world. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Gina. And thank you, Mike.
You betcha.
Oh boy, I tell you, Mike, you are such a great connector. You've brought so many wonderful people into our lives and onto our TEDx Dupree Park team. John Clunan, our social media manager, Randy Stukes, our speaker manager, and Natanya, so many other people too that I don't even know the whole list. But why do you like doing the connecting so much?
I love doing that. It goes back to a talk many years ago. A guy named Steve Beecham is actually a mortgage guy, and he wrote a book called Bass Ackwards Marketing. He's not a mortgage guy, he's a connector. And what his talked about to me and reached in me is we all know people that can help others. And you go back to Zig Ziglar, I think, helping others, best way to help yourself. And I do have to give great credit definitely to you, Gina, but most of these connections I have formed is through Toastmasters, which has certainly been one of the best things I've done for myself. That's how Steve and I got to know each other. That's how I got to know Natanya. It's how I got to know Randy. It's how I got to know Joshua. I'll never forget Joshua's first talk at Cherokee Toastmasters. I'm thinking, this guy is destined for the TED stage. So, anyway, Toastmasters has been a big influence in my life, and I thank you for initially getting Toastmasters started with a few other folks that are still in my life as well. So it's an amazing world that we live in. I have learned an open heart and an open mind. So much stuff flows into you.
Interesting. So interesting. And to think back, gosh, it must have been 2004 or 5 that Joe Gandolfo and Joe was already in the National Speakers Association, and I was speaking at local groups there in Cherokee County. And we started talking, let's just form a Toastmasters group. And now just to think about, you've just helped me think about all the lives that has touched that I have no idea about. I don't know. I know some of the people that are still there today or that are there today, but wow, they've helped. They've been able to communicate better, to share their messages with their friends and family in the world better. And that just gives me chills being knowing that I've had that kind of an influence. You've
been very influential. We miss you in Woodstock and Cherokee County. I know you are Orlando's gain and actually the world's gain, because you've got essentially almost a global platform with what you're doing these days, helping people navigate video and, once again, making the most of what they have through a different medium. And I've learned so much since working with you that we started with TEDx. And I thank you.
Well, thank you. Before we go, there are a couple of comments I want to bring up here, because they're members of our team and members of our insider circle here for TEDx Dupree Park. This one we have to sit up higher so people can see our faces underneath it, because it's kind of a long comment. But Julie Donnelly is one of our TEDx Dupree Park speakers, and this was going back to the plant-based conversation with Dr. Shapiro and Dr. Schumacher, that she wishes she'd found it 50 years earlier, and would have raised her children in it, made a huge difference. And so I see her, and she's just getting younger. The plant-based diet de-ages you. So I know, Mike, you probably want to live a longer, healthier life. And then I want to recognize our producer, our maven behind the scenes here, who's helping us. She's been involved with every single TEDx Dupree Park. She's our TV Marcy. She's been behind the scenes helping us get the tech checks right before we come out. You guys, it's not an accident that most of the time you can hear our speakers, you can see them pretty well, and things work pretty well, and we stay pretty much on time. And that's has a lot to do with Marcy, and she helps produce our Video Rockstars events. She helps produce these. She's producer for Dale Carnegie. She does all kinds of really impressive work in leadership as well as in virtual events. So I encourage you guys to get in touch with Marcy. And so she's also involved in Toastmasters group. She does all these cool things that I don't even know about, but I'm so grateful that she's part of our family.
Yeah. Lots of cool people involved with TEDx Dupree Park and the whole TED community. Before we go, I have to give a plug for our sponsors, how much they help us, how much we appreciate them. We want to typically every TEDx Dupree Park TV show highlight and showcase a sponsor. We didn't have one this week, but there'll be one on next week. And I invite you to think about, once again, your name, your company name aligned with the TED brand, possibly one of the most recognized and respected brands on, as someone said, this blue dot, planet Earth. This is a great opportunity to get involved and to help others make the most of what they have. We make it super easy to be a sponsor. We have a variety of different levels and a variety of different perks for different levels. Reach out to me, reach out to Gina, reach out to Steve. Check out our website at TEDxDupreePark.com. And I will leave it with this once again, because of the CARES Act that was passed earlier this year, every person can claim a $300 charitable contribution above the line on their tax return. So we make it really, really easy to be a small contributor in a big way with TEDx Dupree Park.
Well, that's fantastic. And with that, I'm gonna pop our guest back on here. I know you guys might not have been expecting that, but since you're out there and available, why don't you guys come back on to help us send folks off today from our show with a quick, with a bountiful go seed some greatness gesture here. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go.
Go see
some greatness.
I think we'll have to practice that in advance next time. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you being part of our show.
Great show.
Thank you guys for watching it. Please like, comment, share with your friends, and let some other people get in on the greatness that we're sharing at TEDx Dupree Park. And we do have some big news we'll be sharing next week about the future of TEDx Dupree Park and what we're planning to do for our 2020 speakers and how that's going to all play out in our COVID environment. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.